What really happened during day 2 of Diddy's trial? The courtroom was charged with explosive testimony that could change everything we thought we knew. Get ready for details you won't hear anywhere else. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former girlfriend and the star witness, walked into the courtroom visibly pregnant, almost 9 months along, dressed in a way that highlighted the gravity of her testimony. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to her. Meanwhile, Diddy, dressed much more casually than in his prime, kept a steady gaze on her. This charged reunion set the tone for a day full of shocking revelations. Cassie described so-called freak-offs, orchestrated encounters involving multiple male escorts, meticulously prepared with bottles of baby oil and other supplies heated to create a certain environment. She testified that these sessions often lasted days, heavily controlled by Diddy, who dictated details down to lighting and involvement of specific individuals. The scale and choreography of these encounters painted a dark picture of manipulation and exploitation. The testimony uncovered heavy drug use, including ecstasy, ketamine, and others, provided by Diddy to numb the pain and reality of the situation. Cassie explained she was often high during these sessions and felt pressured to continue regardless of her condition. This key detail ties directly into the charges of coercion and exploitation, illustrating a pattern of control that went far beyond simple abuse. One of the most impactful moments was the viewing of the 2016 hotel hallway video showing Diddy violently attacking Cassie. The footage contradicted the defense's claim that he was merely retrieving his phone. Instead, it reinforced the prosecutor's depiction of a pattern of physical control and intimidation, with Cassie left on the ground, vulnerable and hurt, while Diddy returned not with items but seemingly to assert further dominance. The intense courtroom moment as Cassie Ventura enters. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former girlfriend and the star witness in the trial, walked into the courtroom visibly pregnant, almost 9 months along, dressed in a snug brown dress that hugged her baby bump and flowed down to her ankles. The atmosphere shifted instantly, and you could literally hear a pin drop as every eye in the room fixed on her. Meanwhile, Diddy appeared markedly different from his usual mogul image, wearing a pale crew neck sweater that contrasted sharply with his past swagger. He didn't take his eyes off Cassie for a moment, creating a charged tension between the two that set the stage for the day's explosive testimony. Cassie maintained her composure, her gaze fixed straight ahead, refusing to look at Diddy as she made her way to the witness stand. The courtroom was saturated with anticipation, families and jurors alike absorbing the weight of the moment. This wasn't just a witness entering a trial, it was the unveiling of a deeply personal and painful story, and everyone knew the significance of what was about to unfold. The contrast between Cassie's poised yet vulnerable appearance and Diddy's focused stare underscored the gravity of the allegations. The moment wasn't scripted, it was real, raw, and foreshadowed the troubling revelations that would soon unravel. This arrival was a critical turning point, turning the trial from abstract accusations into a human story with faces and voices, setting an intense, emotional tone for what was to come. The disturbing freak-offs and the role of male escorts. Cassie described so-called freak-offs, orchestrated encounters involving multiple male escorts, meticulously prepared with bottles of baby oil and other supplies heated to create a certain environment. She testified that these sessions often lasted days, heavily controlled by Diddy, who dictated details down to lighting and involvement of specific individuals. The scale and choreography of these encounters painted a dark picture of manipulation and exploitation. Cassie said staffers would get the rooms ready, stocking them with condoms, Astroglide, and baby oil in advance. The baby oil had to be warm and of a specific brand, Johnson's, and was even heated in hotel sinks with hot water to make sure everything glistened under the lights. When the supplies ran out, staffers or the hotel bell desk would be called to bring more, highlighting how systemic and organized these sessions were. On some occasions, a kiddie pool filled with baby oil and lube would be inflated right in the middle of the hotel room, with Cassie made to climb in fully dressed, for the performance and visuals. This chilling level of detail demonstrated an aim beyond simple encounters. It was about control, production, and objectification. The male escorts involved were often hired through Craigslist or Backpage.com, with Diddy's specific preference for black males with large penises. Each was paid handsomely in cash, ranging from $1,500 to $6,000 per session, sometimes with money handed over by Diddy himself or his security team. Cassie even took on the role of hiring these escorts from a service called Cowboys for Angels, coordinating travel and bookings, but always under Diddy's direction. These freak-offs were not casual or consensual events, but tightly scripted and enforced encounters meant to fulfill what Cassie described as Diddy's fantasies. This testimony sheds light on the disturbing dynamics behind these events and the complexity of control and exploitation involved. Drug use and coercion revealed in testimony. The testimony uncovered heavy drug use, including ecstasy, ketamine, and others, provided by Diddy to numb the pain and reality of the situation. Cassie explained she was often high during these sessions, and felt pressured to continue regardless of her condition. This key detail ties directly into the charges of coercion and exploitation, illustrating a pattern of control that went far beyond simple abuse. She told the court that the drugs were not for partying, but to disassociate and create a buffer from reality. This deliberate numbing speaks volumes about the level of coercion, and the loss of autonomy she endured. Every free cough session, as described, involved drug use that made her feel sick, sometimes causing her to vomit. But despite feeling physically ill, she was encouraged to keep going. Diddy, according to her testimony, insisted she continue even when she was clearly unwell, which paints a disturbing picture of manipulation. The presence and use of these substances are crucial because they connect directly to the charges of trafficking and forced labor. Providing and controlling access to drugs, while compelling participation in sexual acts, adds layers to the legal implications. Rather than voluntary engagement, the testimony suggests an environment of coercion where consent was compromised. This contributed significantly to the prosecution's narrative, building a case that is about exploitation on multiple levels. The pattern of drug use was not isolated, it was systematic and integral to how the alleged enterprise functioned. This reveals not just isolated incidents, but a deliberate strategy to maintain control and obedience through substance use. The courtroom reaction to this part of the testimony was palpable, highlighting how disturbing and impactful these revelations were. The harrowing violence captured on video. One of the most impactful moments in the trial was the showing of the 2016 hotel hallway video, where Diddy, by his own admission, violently attacked Cassie Ventura. This footage did more than just shock the courtroom, it directly contradicted the defense's explanation that he was simply trying to retrieve his phone during the altercation. Instead, the video showed a clear pattern of physical dominance and control. Cassie was caught in a vulnerable state, left on the ground and visibly hurt. Diddy, after taking her bags, returned to where she lay without the bags in hand, a move prosecutors argue was not about the phone, but about further asserting power over her. This moment was especially telling, as it challenged the defense's narrative and painted a stark picture of abuse and intimidation. The jury got an unfiltered look at the raw violence Cassie endured, a visual testimony that words alone could not fully capture. As Cassie tried to put on her shoes before the elevator doors opened, Diddy grabbed her by the neck and pulled her hoodie, throwing her down with force. She testified that she stayed down on the ground because it felt like the safest place, avoiding more damage. The video not only captured a single moment of rage but also illustrated a broader pattern of physical and emotional abuse, underscoring the severity of the charges against Diddy. Explaining the RICO charges and legal implications. The trial hinges not only on physical abuse but on serious charges like racketeering, RICO, sex trafficking and forced labor. Testimony illustrated elements such as kidnapping, bribery, transporting escorts across state lines under the Mann Act and orchestrating an illegal enterprise using staff and security teams. Each piece of evidence adds up to a broader criminal pattern that the prosecution must prove. RICO, or Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, was originally designed to combat organized crime like the mob. But in this case prosecutors say it applies because this was a coordinated operation involving multiple people and enterprise controlled by Diddy. To prove RICO, the prosecution needs to demonstrate a pattern of illegal activity, meaning at least two predicate acts such as kidnapping, bribery, or obstruction of justice. Cassie's testimony about forced confinement, the control of travel and payments, and the involvement of staffers to prepare the scenes all support this pattern. Prosecutors pointed to the transportation of male escorts across state lines which, under the Mann Act, is illegal when connected to commercial sex and trafficking. Allegedly Diddy's team managed these arrangements, purchasing tickets and coordinating travel, which adds to the trafficking charges. Forced labor is another critical element, as Cassie described how she was compelled to participate in these events against her will under threat and control. Evidence of coercion, control over Cassie's life and decisions contributes to this charge. Additionally, bribery and obstruction of justice come into play, as hotel staffers reportedly were paid to clean up evidence and keep things quiet. All these predicate acts tied together form the basis of the RICO charge. This isn't just about isolated incidents but a steady pattern of criminal conduct directed by the head of the enterprise. The trial will examine whether the jury believes these elements have been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. If so, the implications for Diddy's reputation and legal future could be devastating. Cassie's life under control, loss of freedom and identity. Cassie testified how Diddy controlled nearly every aspect of her life, her appearance, money, career decisions, and even personal identity. She described the toll on her mental health, including a loss of self-confidence and constant fear of retaliation. Cassie said he dictated what she wore, how she looked, how she smiled, and even how her nails should be painted, French tip or white in color. She was expected to be tan, and Diddy even pressured her about cosmetic procedures, like getting breast implants. When she styled her hair a certain way, he told her she looked too Mexican. If Diddy didn't like something, Cassie said, the next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face. She told the jury that his moods would flip in an instant and her world would shift with them. Her self-confidence was eroded deeply, and she felt trapped in a cycle of control and abuse. She explained that Diddy took away her keys, her phone, her tablets, laptops, and even kicked her out of apartments. He controlled her money, her music career, and essentially, her entire life. On the stand, she simply answered when asked what he took from her: my self-confidence. The impact went beyond physical control. It was psychological manipulation that left her isolated and fearful. She never knew what it meant to say no because the consequences were severe: physical violence, blackmail, or abandonment. The control extended so far that even the names she used within their relationship were dictated by Diddy. He made her call him Pop, a name she otherwise used for her grandfather, while he called her baby girl, or CC, short for Cassie Combs. These details paint a portrait not just of abuse, but of a calculated effort to strip away her autonomy and identity, keeping her under his thumb. The emotional and shocking courtroom reactions. As the testimony grew more graphic, the atmosphere in the courtroom shifted visibly. Jurors shifted uncomfortably in their seats, some exchanging glances that spoke volumes. One black male juror shook his head repeatedly, his eyes fixed on Diddy, a silent condemnation weighing heavy in the air. A black female juror appeared stunned, her face registering disbelief, shock, and at times, outright disgust. It was clear the details being revealed were having a profound impact. Family members of Diddy were present, witnessing every moment, and their reactions were just as telling. His mother sat just 2 rows back, silently supporting her son despite the gravity of the allegations. Meanwhile, his son, Justin, and Justin's mother, Misa Hilton, could no longer bear the intensity of the testimony. Misa left the courtroom during the harrowing account of the urine incident, a testament to how distressing the narrative was. The emotional weight of Cassie's descriptions, especially about the degradation and control, was palpable throughout the room. Even the seasoned reporters and legal observers admitted to feeling unsettled, a reminder that this was no ordinary trial. The judge's decision on whether explicit videos would be shown to the public only added to the tense atmosphere. The courtroom was a microcosm of the wider implications of the case, revealing the human cost behind the headlines, the complex emotions involved, and the profound discomfort elicited by the revelations. Watching this unfold, the jury and everyone present were left to grapple with the disturbing reality presented, a story far darker than many anticipated. What's next in the trial, upcoming testimony and potential impacts. Cassie Ventura is expected to return to the stand on Wednesday to continue her testimony, and she could be there until the end of the week, possibly Thursday, unless she goes into labor, which adds a real-time element to this already intense trial. The judge also announced he will make a decision tomorrow on whether the videos of the so-called free coughs will be shown to the press and public, or remain restricted just to the jury and courtroom participants. This decision is crucial because these videos could offer undeniable evidence of the allegations, but showing them publicly may be seen as re-traumatizing the victim. Meanwhile, the defense team has their work cut out for them, facing a prosecution that has presented a detailed, multi-layered case with multiple witnesses and physical evidence. They will have to aggressively cross-examine Cassie and other witnesses to challenge the credibility of the testimonies and discredit key pieces of evidence. As the trial progresses, more witnesses are expected to come forward, potentially corroborating Cassie's account or providing alternative perspectives. The jury will have to weigh all this information carefully, as the stakes are incredibly high, with Diddy's reputation and freedom on the line. The trial is not just about one moment or one act, but about a pattern of alleged criminal behavior involving severe control, trafficking, and coercion. The legal decisions and public reactions in the coming days could set major precedents and send a powerful message about accountability in cases involving high-profile figures and abuse of power. Make sure to stay tuned, because every development could shift the course of this landmark trial. This trial is about much more than a physical altercation caught on video. It exposes a disturbing web of control, exploitation, and alleged criminal enterprise that could end one of hip-hop's most storied careers. As the courtroom drama unfolds, the implications will resonate far beyond this case, forcing us to question how power and abuse intertwine behind closed doors. The detailed testimony painted a picture of manipulation, coercion, and control that goes beyond what many expected. Whether Diddy's reputation survives, this case will likely change how we look at the powerful figures in entertainment. With multiple witnesses backing the claims and evidence pointing to a pattern of behavior, the prosecution's case is gaining momentum. The defense will face serious challenges dismantling the overwhelming details presented. And the upcoming decisions on whether explicit videos become public could shift the public's perception even further. This is a case where every detail counts, from the baby oil and fake hotel bookings, to the way staffers were involved in the alleged scheme. The impact on Cassie Ventura, both physically and emotionally, revealed the dark side of a relationship shaped by control and fear. As the trial continues, it will be crucial to watch how the justice system handles such complex and sensitive allegations. For everyone watching, it's a reminder that behind the glitz and glamour, there can be stories of suffering and abuse that demand attention and accountability. Stay tuned as this story develops, because the truth, as they say, is never just serious, it's drop-dead serious.